Welcome to Divine Tourist 504, and I will be your tour guide, Queen Ocean. We're going to go over some diversity of New Orleans, baby. I'm going to take you back in time, and we're going to talk about this history. I'm about to give you the shade, baby, the mist, and, of course, the tea, okay? So, the real question is, can we finally put this to rest? Is Girod Street Cemetery actually built on top of the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, which is now known as Caesar, but we know it was previously the Mercedes-Benz. So let me take you back and let's get into this shade, this mess, and this tea. Let's go. Girod Street Cemetery, established in 1822, holds a significant place in the history of New Orleans. It was the first primarily Protestant cemetery in a city that was primarily Catholic at the time. When Girod Street Cemetery opened its gates, it was designed to accommodate the growing population of New Orleans. The cemetery's layout reflected the agriculture styles and burial practice of the early 19th century. Graves were often placed above ground due to the city high water table and frequent flooding, leading to the unique burial structure such as tombs stacked several levels high. In its early years, Girod Street Cemetery became a virtual part of life. It not only served as a final resting place, but also a space for remembrance. Fast forward, the yellow fever break out in New Orleans, baby, and a high mortality rate. With thousands buried at Girod Street Cemetery by the mid-1800s, it was common for more than 1,300 people to die in a single week. That's a lot of people, baby. The cemetery location made it the favorite choice for the yellow fever victims. Let me tell y'all something. See, when Corbin was out, you better not cough, because you was going to get decked in your mouth. Girl. And it's talking about 1,300 people dying. Okay. Let's continue. Getting off track. However, as the number of burials increased dramatically, the cemetery became overcrowded. In 1957, the Christian church closed Girod Street Cemetery and demolished the property. It was said that they used to take dead bodies and just drop them off in front of Girod Street Cemetery. Bodies were piled up and stacked up there. It was no longer holding a funeral for anybody. That's how fast they were dropping. They were dropping like flies, left and right. So it have so many unclaimed victims that was there. Can you imagine the smell that was coming from that cemetery? And so many residents had took and complained about that cemetery needs to be closed down. But I'm not going to get off track. Let's keep going, baby. On October 1958, the remaining 96 square feet of Girod Street Cemetery was sold to the government for almost $300,000. The cemetery land was demolished on January the 4th, 1957. Fast forward. In 1971, when workers were sent to examine the grounds of what once was Girod Street Cemetery, the goal was to convince the NFL to award a franchise to New Orleans. But without a dome, it appeared hopes to expanding the NFL to New Orleans, hope was lost. That was until a sports visionary, David Dixon, paused and said, you know what? I know a spot. I would have been saying, baby, not the cemetery, huh? But come on, let's get on. The construction crews were sent out to examine the grounds. And while the cemetery has been demolished since 1957, baby, it wasn't known to the workers at the time that the location was a former cemetery. Ain't that cool? In fact, as the old saying goes, Jim McLean, the project manager in charge of the construction started almost immediately. Notice how the backhoes began uncovering the skeletons, remains, and unclaimed victims of the yellow fever breakout. Unaware of their location and fearing that they had stumbled upon a murder scene, the coroner and the police were contacted. It was only then that the workers learned they were digging up what once was part of a old Girod Street cemetery. Ain't that nothing? And after the construction even began, the more they dig, the more bodies were uncovered, the more skeletons that they saw, and the more coffins surfaced above ground. Let's fast forward, honey. That's enough of that. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome was finished on August 11, 1971. For many residents, the Superdome represented more than just a sports venue. It was a symbol of progress. The finished construction, such as an impressive facility in a city that has been associated with its rich cultural heritage since seen as a transformation moment. People felt a renewed sense of pride in their community as they believed that hosting an NFL team would elevate New Orleans in both national and international stages. And this also brought people together to have a good time. Baby, because after World War II, segregation, picking the cotton, the sugar cane field, and all that, baby, they had so much going on, baby. This is going to be some extra new money that's coming into the city. Now, the former owner that did own the New Orleans Saints, he wanted to sell the Saints, and the Saints was supposed to be shipped to, I think it was Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah, Jacksonville, Florida. They wanted to sell the Saints. But time Business stepped in, baby. He was like, let me buy that, let me get that out, child. Let me get that out, child. Yeah. So he was like, no, they gonna stay right here. Big money, bank, okay? So he also flipped his money. Right now, we have his wife, known as Gail Benson, beautiful, beautiful woman. She now owns the New Orleans Saints, and Tom Benson, unfortunately, he passed. So we're gonna continue this story. This is part 1. I'm gonna go over part 2 just shortly. I don't want this video to be too long. Like, comment, and subscribe. And you have been rocking, baby, with Queen Ocean. Let's go.